slumber too. Their presence fills the air with doom. Yet in the chaos, light may spark, even in the depths of the deepest dark. Creatures lurking in the dark unseen, silent whispers piercing in between. Some will haunt and some will guide, on land, in air, and oceans wide.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Bizarre and the Unknown. I'm your host, E.D. Testerman. I have special guest, man, the rock stars of it all right here with me tonight. I got Mr. Robby, Jed, Rains, and Mr. D. A, the author of authors, Roberts, with us in the house tonight. How you guys doing today? Hey, Robin.
Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Doing good.
Hey, thanks for coming. Man, we got a great show lined up for us today, man. We're kicking off the final of the Sea Creatures episodes with sharks, man. Sharks is probably one of the most feared things out in the oceans. Honestly, I've scuba dived with sharks many, many times all over this world. I've never had an issue with sharks, but they're like anything else. It just takes one. It takes one that's too curious, and you got a good experience, it turns into a bad one. And oh my God, that was a good one. But it just takes one. Hey, Effer, it just takes one that turns up.
But back to pair.
So these things are fun. So we're going to dive into. We're going to talk about some sharks that we do know about, some that they say may be extinct, and we're going to talk about the elusive shark man as well. Which I will admit, my knowledge on Sharkman came from World War II, but I have actually recently found out it's deep further back in mythology than I had actually initially realized. So we're going to jump into that tonight. So we got the Shark Man himself, Robby, who is more knowledgeable about sharks than probably I am. I guarantee you that. I swam with them and dealt with them. That's about it. And ate a few. That's about it. That's my extent on sharks. Besides the great and wonderful movie Jaws, you know, the best movie of all times, you know. So with that being said, let's dive into it. So I want to get your guys' opinion first, then we'll get on the chat's opinions. Do you think sharks are actively hunting humans?
Nope.
No, I don't think that. I think if we're on the menu, it's accidentally.
If we were
Except for in the case of the USS Indianapolis. Now that's a whole different animal.
That's
which those were, yeah, those were makos. If memory serves me correctly, those were makos that were
sharks.
Oceanic whitetip were the main culprits of those, which is in the same family.
That's right.
Mako, but predominantly it was oceanic whitetips, which is a pelagic shark, which means deep water. Makos usually hang closer toward the shore. They have been documented attacks of makos a little bit further out, but for the most part, as far out as that ship was, you're going to look at oceanic whitetips would be the biggest.
I think it's tigers because of that speech on Jaws. Tiger, 13-footer. You know, you tell how long a shark is when you're in the water, the distance from the tail to the fin. I love that speech.
Yeah. Dude, that's great. Which tiger sharks and bull sharks, they're more aggressive than a great white. I know that much, and bulls have been spotted all the way up into St. Louis area. They've actually
There's
on
a picture
those
of
have
bull
realized
shark
they
spotted a few
actually
years ago, just off St. Louis.
yeah, they're known to give birth in fresh water. In fact, multiple times you don't realize that you've swam around these baby and juvenile bull sharks and didn't even know.
There's even reports of
But
them.
there is actually active attack. Yeah. Yeah, I remember that. Hey, Larry. Yeah, I actually remember that. I remember them talking about reports of them in the Great Lakes as well. So, I mean, these are sharks that can go in fresh water, which makes them scarier than most of your other common sharks that you hear about. Great whites get a very bad rep. In which, once again, I love the movie. Great movie, Jaws, but Jaws really gave them a bad rep. Now, that's not saying it doesn't happen. And when them things get a hold of you, that's a big shark with a big bite and a big bite force. So when they get you, they do some damage. But a lot of times, most of that is misidentification. They're doing a test bite. It's like, hey, this kind of looks like food, but kind of doesn't. So I need to see what this tastes like. And that's generally what you get. But a great white's test bite, it's pretty devastating.
And at the same time, sharks will eat just about anything.
Yeah.
They've opened sharks that have license plates in their stomach.
Yep.
Yeah, they did. That was what was that? The late '90s, early 2000s. They opened up that bull out of the Mississippi that had license plates in it and car hubs in it.
Yeah, pieces just
They're
stuff
like the
swallowed.
Well, there's a reason that scene was in Jaws with the tiger shark, because multiple tiger sharks have been found with stuff like that. That's their nickname is the garbage can of the sea, because they'll eat just about anything.
Yeah,
tin cans, tags. They found like garbage can lids folded up inside them. I mean, it's unreal the things that they have found inside the stomachs of those sharks.
Yeah. So I mean, I agree with you guys a lot. I don't think they're actively hunting humans. Now, there is accounts of some genetically modified ones that have grown a taste for human meat, I guess you can say, but that is like a very rare circumstance. And that was genetically modified.
And,
so
I would assume that pretty much any government on the planet has probably attempted to modify an organism at some point. And we know from documentations from World War II and before, there were attempts to do that. So it wouldn't surprise me that there are, genetically modified sharks that are either in captivity or got loose or have been turned loose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Heifer, to answer your question, we kind of hit that up. It's more of a test bite. They can't really, when they close that membrane, they can't see, and they close that membrane over their eye to protect their eyes when they're going in for a bite. So when they're looking at you, you look like shadow. And a lot of times, like if you're on a surfboard, boogie board, or something like that, you look like a seal, which is a very big diet for sharks. So they'll come up, it's like, okay, he kind of looks like a seal doesn't, but he'll do a test bite. And generally, that's most of the time, that's what you're getting. Other times is because people are being stupid, honestly, which call a kettle black as it is. When you get out there jacking with these things in their home turf and you get to messing with them, they're going to defend themselves. And that's probably where another point of, hey, Kevin, another part of where their attacks come from is the fact that people are jacking with them. That's just my opinion. I don't know. I'm not one of those, what is that, Shark Week? I don't think I've ever watched a Shark Week yet. I just watch some documentaries from time to time because I like sharks. My daughter likes sharks. And I've swam with them. But I can tell you now, I've scuba dived with them. A lot of times you bumping them in that nose or you bump them in that gill or you go for the eye, they kind of get out of there. They don't like that. I mean, I could be wrong, but that's just my experience as scuba diving. That's what it's been. They get a little too close. You can pop them right there in that nose or hit them there in that gill or go after the eye and they go away. So, I mean, Robby, you know more about that, but I think I'm pretty close on that.
Nobody really knows 100%, and different sharks react different ways. But the reason they're so sensitive around around the nose is the ampullae of Lorenzini. That's where all that electrical signal that they pick up through the water, that's where that comes from. So that's why that area is real sensitive. And that's why most of the time people tell you to go for that, because it is so sensitive on most sharks. And the gills, you got the lateral lines that run all along down their sides, and that, that helps them with their not location, but geolocation. So those sensitive areas are, and eyes, of course, are sensitive on anything, but it's a 50-50 thing. It may work, may not work. If it doesn't work, you're never going to know that it didn't work, probably.
I tell you, in my experience,
you're not going to know if it didn't work.
My experience is the only ones that's been more persistent than anything else I've been around was daggone hammerheads. I don't know what it is about a freaking hammerhead. Them dudes are stubborn. I mean, they keep coming back. A lot of times the other ones just kind of, oh crap, he's messing with me, go away. The hammerhead will go away and then come back. I don't know what it is about them guys. They're like the pit bull of the ocean or something. It's like, oh, you mess with me and we'll get some more. But I don't know, man. It could have just been because I was stationed in Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, Marine Corps Base, Kaneohe Bay, Hawaii, which Kaneohe Bay is a place where hammerheads give birth to their pups. It's also the place where they filmed the opening theme song to Gilligan's Island. That was filmed there at K-Bay. So every year, K-Bay gets shut down because the hammerheads come in, circle that little island there, and give birth to their pups. And, of course, we're dumbass Marines. We're still out there doing Zodiac training and everything else. It's like, yeah, this is smart. But I just kept my K-bar on me. It was like, well, if they eat me, I'm going to give them an ulcer. That's about all I can do. But those have been probably the most persistent ones I've ever dealt with. Whale sharks, though, my God, that is the puppy of the sea. Man, you ever get a chance to scuba dive with whale sharks? Holy crap, dude. That's an experience like no other. That was an awesome time right there. I don't know if you've been scuba diving, any one of you two or not, but over in Okinawa, I got to scuba dive with some whale sharks, and that was just awesome. So let's get into
snorkel, but I've never scuba.
Yeah.
No, man, I'm getting ready. I've never done a freshwater dive. I've got all my equipment right here in my closet to do it. I just have not done a freshwater dive, which I'm getting ready to do a paranormal investigation at Table Rock Lake. I've got to get another diver lined up with me, but I've got the GoPros I can take underwater with me that records sounds too, because of the graveyards and the old towns that's underneath Table Rock Lake. And I can tell you that's a pretty damn haunted place. It's not just jacked with cryptids. It's jacked with paranormal activity too. So I'm kind of wanting to test that theory out and do a actual paranormal, try to do the best I can paranormal investigation under Table Rock Lake. So that's one of my things in the future I'm going to try to do. But so let's get into the meat and the taters of this here. Do you guys believe that something like a megalodon could still be roaming these oceans with all these weird attacks that's happening? Big ass sharks that mysteriously disappear and just get skyrocketed to the bottom of the ocean at enormous speeds. That's quicker than a normal great white. I mean, look at these great whites are being attacked and all of a sudden they're just being plummeted down to the bottom of the ocean in wicked speeds. Do you think that could be megalodon?
I think it's possible because, I mean, we talked about it the other night. While maybe 20% of the ocean floor has been mapped, you can map something without ever even exploring it. So, because less than 5% has been explored. So, and the Earth is what, 70-something% water? What, 72, 73% DA?
Yeah.
I mean, so if we've explored, even if we've explored 20% of that, which we haven't, that's still a lot of ocean and a lot of open, empty space. That's just like if your ship gets disabled and wanders off the shipping lanes, that's why people don't get found. With planes crash out of the shipping lanes because the ocean is so vast. So to say that something like that, oh, there's no chance that exists, that's just asinine in my opinion. Because you can hide the Empire State Building 3 times over inside the Marianas Trench.
Oh yeah.
I
There's
mean,
room.
Even when you dive like to the depths of the Marianas Trench, if you've got a submersible that's capable of getting down that far, you can only see maybe 20, 30 feet from the submersible. The visibility at that depth is practically nothing.
Oh yeah.
yeah, and that's what Heath was talking about the other night. He said, people like, especially on movies, they like to say, you can have all these big bright lights when you go down that deep. He said, you can't see 2-3 feet in front of you. He said, because it's just like, it's the blackest black you've ever seen. So
plus there's all kinds of sediment in the water, and it makes it practically impossible for your lights to see any distance at all.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and so I've seen plenty of oil rig videos. I've seen videos from what was that photo from World War II, which me and DA was talking about that backstage. I'm not 100. Hey Lisa, I'm not 100% convinced on that. I'm not saying it's not. I'm just not. I need to study it more for me to be a little bit more. But I do know of stories coming out of World War II in places like that of sharks bigger than their ships following them, going underneath them. Some even say being attacked by them. So the fact that you're getting stories even from World War II up to present days of these things still existing. I mean, what was that one in the Gulf of Mexico or Gulf of America now? I believe it was that oil rig video where that one shark took so long to get past the screen that they measured it out to like 60 feet, I think it was. Yeah. Or 40 feet, might have been 40 feet.
I took a story one time. I was talking to a guy who was a Navy sonar operator, and I just told this story the other night on our show, but this is kind of appropriate to tell it here as well. He was a sonar operator on a Los Angeles class attack submarine. He didn't tell me which boat or when exactly this was because all that stuff's classified. But he did tell me they were leaving sub pins on the west coast of California. So as they were going out through the big bay at San Fran, he was just starting his shift on sonar, and he started noticing something sound like it was behind him. And the sonar operators, they can tell you the difference between a mechanical contact and a biological contact. Well, he wanted to be sure that there was actually something back there. So he ran some double checks and finally called the Cobb, the chief of the boat, in there. He said, "Cobb, we got something following us." And the chief of the boat's like, "What?" He goes, "I think it's biological." So they started listening. They ran a track on it. Turns out, yes, it was biological. Cobb says, "Probably a whale. Don't worry about it. Just keep half an eye on it. If it stays, let us know." 3 days later, when they were out in the deep part of the ocean near the Marianas, it was still behind them and had not surfaced. And they had ID'd this thing as a biological contact, approximately the same length as a 688 class attack submarine.
Oh, wow. So, I mean, yeah, one of the most notable, I believe, of the great white disappearances was that 9-footer called Alpha. I can't remember where it was tagged at, but it was tagged, and I think 3 days later, it mysteriously just took a steep dive to the bottom of the Marianas Trench, and the tag washed up on the shore later on, and the temperature even rose on this tag before it popped up. So that tells you it was inside something, and then it got pooped out and then washed ashore. So something grabbed it, made a drastic change, dove extremely deep at really high speeds, raised the temperature of it to 76 degrees. What was it, 76? I can't remember if it's Fahrenheit or Celsius. Anyways, I remember 76 degrees, and it dove deep. Well, that was, it went over 1,600 feet, which is deeper than a great white usually dove, and at a speed quicker. So now when they claim that was a great white with gigantism that was 18 foot long. Okay, so if you do, we'll play that theory for a second. So you got a great white that's got gigantism, 16 foot long. It's still not going to swallow a 9-foot great white whole. On top of that, if great whites don't dive, past 1,400 feet, and this thing was at 19. No, I think it was 19. I'm sorry. I said 16, but I believe it was 1,900 feet it recorded, and it dove down. If it's going to be bigger like that, but it's the same body structure as a regular great white, wouldn't that pressure still affect it? Thinking scientifically wise. So, I mean, that tells me I think it was something bigger.
It would have to have been. But at the same token, maybe it was a squid. I mean, we don't know what attacked it. There's no evidence showing what it was. But it does sound like shark behavior.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the temperature rise. That's why I'm not real keen on the squid part of it. Just because of the temperature rise and the speed of which it declined, kind of puts that out of squid range. But then again, we don't know. That very well could be. I don't know.
Even a colossal squid is not going to be able to swallow a shark whole. Mm-hmm. That's not the way their beaks tear stuff apart and they swallow small, although something that big would be bigger pieces than a normal squid, but it doesn't swallow things whole. So I think squid's ruled out right off the bat. Your only known culprits that we know of right now that it possibly could be is, like you said, a bigger great white shark, a big male killer whale, which there again is probably not going to swallow a shark whole, because Blackfish was one of the biggest documented killer whales. He was 31 feet. And I'm sure there's some that are that big, maybe bigger out in the wild, which is a very big animal, but still, that's really pushing it to swallow a 9-foot shark whole. So the only things that we know of in the fossil record that got big enough to swallow something like that, you're looking at like a mosasaur or a meg or some things like that.
And mosasaur was another idea I was thinking about, because this is just one. I've said this every time I've said this, but this is my opinion, my theory, my hypothesis. I do not believe the asteroid destroyed the dinosaurs, because we still have things on this planet that was alive during the dinosaurs. So I don't believe that they killed off all the dinosaurs. I'm sorry. I mean, we still got horses, we still got sharks, we still got whales, we got crocs, we got gators, we got turtles, we got sturgeon, we got spoonbill. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of different life forms that was alive during that time, and they're still kicking. So the possibility of a mesosaur or a meg or anything like that, I mean, dealing with Loch Ness, with Nessie, and the list goes on, the local Bimbe, possibilities are high. So if that's the case, I believe that a mesosaur or a megalodon could still be kicking around out there. Scientists have taken a huge bites of whales that even bigger than, I mean, that's a very good point right there, Roxanne. Yeah. I mean, I was going to get into that a little bit ago. I mean, yes, orcas have been documented of surgically removing livers of great whites. Yeah. It's documented. Yeah, they do.
Those two killer whales in Hans Bay, South Africa, almost single-handedly ruined that town, that town survived on shark cage diving, and they pretty much ran the entire population off. And that's all those sharks were washing up on the shore. We actually talked about it on our show. And that's all they did was they would flip them over, put them in tonic immobility, and like you said, surgically remove their livers. And that's all they were eating. And the sharks left the area. And they called them port and starboard because there were two males, and one fin leaned to the left, one fin leaned to the right. So that's why they were calling them port and starboard, which is odd, though, because that usually doesn't happen on killer whales in the wild. That usually only happens when they're in captivity. Because if you look at most of the killer whales from that are in captivity, the big males, their fins droop like that. But the ones in the wild don't do that. So that was another oddity for those two whales, for their fins to be drooping. So
go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, they were saying that could have been some kind of genetic deficiency or some kind of, something that was causing them to not be able to hunt like the normal pods did or in that area. So they just adapted themselves to be able to do that, because they were kicked out of pods effectively because they were too long males, and that usually doesn't happen.
Yeah. which we do know that killer whales, which technically they're a dolphin, that's which just call it as it is. Killer whales are dolphins; they're not actual whales, but they have been known to change and adapt new hunting styles, either A, changing pods, or B, the change of their environment so they can be more successful hunters. These things are intelligent. Killer whales are extremely intelligent creatures. They just they've been known to beach and catch things just like like a bottlenose dolphin has been known to beach to take and catch fish. Killer whales have been known to do it to get seals. So, I mean, these things they're not willing to take risks to get food. So, but when it comes to whales and like alpha being taken down, I believe the only type of only whale big enough in the fossil record or to modern day that's ever been big enough to eat a great white was a prehistoric version of a sperm whale, which I can't remember what it was called.
Leviathan.
But that thing was
was Leviathan.
That thing there. Yeah. That thing there, if I remember right, from fossil records up to current, is the only type of whale that's been big enough to actually swallow a great white. Any other thing that don't want us to know about? Yeah, there's a lot of things they don't want us to know about, Vicky. Absolutely. So, I'm up in there. I'm like, all these are possibilities. Could it be still a prehistoric version of a sperm whale that's out there? That one I don't know because whales have to surface for water, and we've covered enough of the surface that we know most of the surface. We don't know under the water, but most of the surface to water, you'd think one would have been spotted by now. So
not necessarily, because
I'd be more.
Even the Navy sticks to basically the shipping lanes. When you get outside the shipping lanes, you can go for weeks without seeing another boat. So most vessels, including trade vessels, stick to those shipping lanes. So it's very rare to find boats that aren't at least close to the shipping lanes, because if there's an emergency, it's going to take someone a long time to get to them. So even planes plot their routes close to those shipping lanes. So once outside those shipping lanes, it's all hands on deck. We don't know what's out there.
Yeah, it's with the satellites and taking photos is the only reason why I say we've covered most of it is because of satellite photos. But then again, we've all seen it firsthand. They can scrub things from a photo, even a satellite photo. So I mean, I'll give you that one. I'll give you that one. That's definitely a possibility of one of them even still being there. Who's to say it doesn't come up for air? It's not like there's traffic on the ocean. Yeah, I can see where we're going on that, and I'm definitely a dang good possibility. I'll retract my comment. I'll be man enough to admit that. Yeah.
Mosasaurs. Were mosasaurs like a frog? Were they amphibious, or did they breathe air, or did they breathe water? I don't know that much about mosasaurs.
I think Moses were.
I thought.
Because I don't remember seeing gills on any of them from the images I've seen.
Yep. Hey, okay, Jay. I was thinking they're more of the croc style, and they still have to come up for air, but
marine reptile, so they could probably hold their breath a long time and would very rarely have to come up like a croc. And I'm sure they probably had that same feature where they could slow their heart rate to stay under a lot longer. But they, so like you said, if it's outside the shipping lanes and they can stay under a long time, I mean, think about it. Modern day sperm whales can stay down for well over an hour and a half, 2 hours when they're down hunting. So you think of something with twice the lung capacity of a 60-foot killer or a sperm whale. You probably stay down,
And look how long gators can stay down.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Gators,
they're what, 2.5 hours?
Yeah, they stay on there hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I agree. I mean, that's definitely a good possibility. And they could have gotten on now. We're going to put this in the orca category. They could be as intelligent as an orca going, okay, there's a lot of ship traffic here. So I may just want to come in here, grab my food, and run back out here where there's less traffic, and I'm not as likely to be jacked with. I mean, so that is definitely a possibility. I mean, I'm sorry. I know we've grown up thinking, oh, just dumb creature eat meat and poop. That's about it. No, I don't think so. I think these things were extremely intelligent. I think they, was able to change their trajectory, their outlooks, or their approach on the move. I don't think it was just they got a pea brain and all they knew how to do was eat. No, I think there's a lot of intelligence on these things. So putting that factor into it, these things here, I'd say it's probably guys are probably right on that. That's a good possibility, definitely.
I mean, look at modern day Nile crocodiles. It wasn't until recently that people just, like you said, thought they were just mindless eating machines. But Robby's brought this up on a number of times on our show, and Robby explains it actually better than I do about how they study and learn the behaviors of the people along the Nile. Robby, you want to elaborate on that because you're better at it.
Basically, and this is crocs are ambush predators. We all know that. But an ambush predator doesn't just sit there and hope something's going to walk by. They cruise up and down the riverbanks. They're watching how animals come down to the water and drink, or people. The habits that we have, and let's face it, humans are creatures of habit. We get into a routine, and everything's all fine and dandy. We get in that tunnel vision and don't think about things. No situational awareness. And it's been documented. Crocs will watch people in these third world countries where they go down. They have to. There's not like they got a lot of choice in the matter. They'll go down, wash their clothes in that river. They clean their fish in that river, and the crocs watch, wait, figure out what their schedules are, how they, what they're doing, and bam, that's basically it.
Yeah.
And even Eric, you brought up Jaws. Think about how Richard Dreyfuss described sharks in that movie. Oh, all they do is eat, swim, and make little babies. And when Jaws came out, that's what scientists thought. That's where Peter Benchley got all his data, was from what scientists were saying then. Well, now we know that sharks have intelligence. They can recognize things. They know to not come around people when they're having their pups. I mean, there's so much more knowledge now about sharks and crocodiles and alligators and all this other stuff that 20, 30 years ago we just didn't know or didn't think. So for us to sit there and say we've got everything figured out, like I said, that's stupid, because we don't know anything about these animals.
No. And I agree with Brian's statement here. Mosasaurs were probably as intelligent as a modern dolphin. I agree. I cold-heartedly agree with that. I believe they were. I think a lot of these things are, even, we do a lot of shows on cryptids and how intelligent they are. I mean, I've got recordings of them speaking Lakota and Chickasaw. So, I mean, you got things that's this intelligence, knows how to build blinds, knows how to do this stuff. I can't sit there and say that these sea creatures can't do this. They ain't got the same level of intelligence as one of them. They just in a different environment, a different way to hunt, a different way to hide, all that stuff. I mean, look at the markings of sharks. The bottom is white and the top is another color. So if you're looking down on it, it's going to blend with the ocean. You're looking up at it, it's going to blend with the sky. That's adaptive camouflage. I'm sorry, but they literally have grown their camouflage to adapt to their environment, and they've been known to change colors depending on which area of the world they're at. So, you can take one great white.
You mentioned something about speaking Lakota. What could you elaborate on that? I didn't catch all of that.
Yeah, she was I caught a female vocal going Shante. Shante is Lakota for like calm yourself. In the Lakota lullaby, Shante washte hochte da giashtima. Shante, calm yourself. And I've actually got her vocally going.
Not Osage, because the Osage are the same people. They're a member of
they weren't.
They're same language.
They originally the Osage were separate, but they end up adopting into the Sioux Nation. Originally they were on their own. like Osage were known as giants. They were 6-7 foot tall on an average. They were extremely
Oh, the Osage.
tall Native American.
When Lewis and Clark
Yeah,
first
that's what
documented the Osage, they were their average warriors between 6.5 and 7 feet tall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I mean, the Osage even back in them days were known as giants because an average Native American back then was 5'4". So when you got Osage, which is 6 to 7 foot tall on an average, they were giants. Yeah, they eventually adopted into the Sioux Nation, but I ran it across William, and William says, "Man, that's Lakota." And he goes, "Think about the Lakota lullaby." And I said, "Man, I didn't even think about that." And I started singing in my head, and the very first word is Shante. So I was like, damn. But yeah, I mean, it could be Osage. I mean, if the Osage got adopted into the Sioux, it'd be, they would adapt part of their language as well. So
the Osage language is what's called a Siouan language. It shares the same language characteristics as the Lakota, the Dakota, and several of the other Siouan tribes. The language is actually very similar.
Yeah. So I mean, this is all Osage territory back in them days. I mean, back in the old days, this was Osage. And the actual Sioux themselves were up around Kansas, St. Joe, Kansas City area. I mean, they were up in there, but the Osage were predominantly down here in this area. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I mean, it's all in there. So, but, these things, so, we know, we talk about this on all our shows about how intelligent these things are. I can't sit there and cut out how intelligent these other creatures, these sea creatures are too. I mean, history kind of tells you that. I mean, look at the Kraken dust. Look at what, the Jormungandr. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of all these different types of sea creatures that's out there that know what to attack and what not to attack. So I don't think it's just a mindless feeding thing. I really don't. That's my opinion. So, we were
giving them credit for. No, but of course, I'm now coming to believe that that's about most animals. Yep. Most animals are just far more intelligent than we've ever given them credit for.
Oh yeah, you guys probably were raised the same way I was. Oh, you can't get a dog to a dog after it's done something wrong because it doesn't remember. I can tell you now that's a load of crap. My dog knows when it done something wrong, even if I catch it 10 hours later. It knows. Oh, crap, he found it. And you look at him, you go, yep, he found it.
Yeah, but Harley's like that. Harley might not bark at all if somebody's kicking in the front door, but you try to unwrap a piece of cheese.
Oh, yeah. Snow can be on the other side of the house snoring, and I can do a wrapper. And that dog, and I quietly undo a wrapper, and that dog right here, you got something for me? Yeah. Oh, yeah. They are way better than what they used to be. Speaking of which, he's probably doing something wrong because he's not at my feet like he usually is. I just realized Boar wasn't here. So, with these sea creatures, we're hearing stories from sailors, even up to modern times of, images of Mesosaur, Megalodon, Kraken, and stuff like that. And, there's ships that mysteriously things happen to them. I mean, look how many, I covered this, I think it was in the first episode during this three-week series, that they have literally, when I was doing ghost ships, they've literally found ships that everything was intact, clothes were folded, none of the lifeboats were launched, yet, and there's no blood scenes, but things are like mysteriously just disappeared. Like no life form was ever left on these boats, or had the same instances, but the stuff on deck was all packed up. Huh?
Like the Mary Celeste?
Yeah. And then there's been instances of these things that they've come across the ship, and everything inside the ship was fine and dandy, but everything on top of the ship looks like some massive creature had been on there and just ate everything. I mean, there's no bullet casings or nothing, but there's blood smeared everywhere, ship masts destroyed, and stuff like this. So that's when you get to thinking, hey, I wonder if there's something behind these sea creatures. And Vicky, open a pack of potato chips around my dog, and he's right there. Heck yeah. Dolphins messing blowfish because the toxin makes them high. Yeah, I've heard of that one, Kevin. Yeah, definitely. Ryan says, scientists, marine life isn't intelligent. Orca, are we a joke to you? Yeah. So I don't know what's your guys' knowledge on these shark-like sea creatures. We'll stop or we'll hit a little bit more on this, then we'll get into the big one, which is the shark man. But what do you guys' theory? Do you really think there's something, to this? What's causing these ship disappearances? The life forms on the ship mysteriously disappearing. I mean, I know that covers a large area, but I'm kind of curious what you guys think on that.
Go ahead, DA.
Sorry, I was looking something up.
No worries.
What was the question again? I'm sorry, I was looking something up.
No worries.
Well, I'll answer that way. He can kind of piggyback off me. Then I think that, like I said earlier, the vast majority of the planet is covered with water, and a lot of it's very, very deep water. So there's it's like we talk about with the 88 million acres of national forests in the United States. What can hide in that? Well, you can hide that 88 million acres in a very small amount of the water that covers this earth. So what can hide in that forest, and then that forest can hide in the ocean. There's way more in those waters than we even know. We know more about the surface of the moon than we know about, we know more about outer space than we do inner space, basically. And there's just for these scientists, to say, we know everything that's there, and it's impossible for a megalodon or a mosasaur or plesiosaur, if that's what Loch Ness and Champ and all those are. I mean, for them to say that it's impossible, that to me just shows how arrogant people like that can be, to think that they know everything, because nobody knows what's out there, and it's just there could be a pack of megalodons out for all we know. I mean, there's plenty of food. Blue whales are still out there. That would make a meal for a megalodon. I mean, how many blue whale carcasses do we see floating around?
Not often.
Humpback whales.
Exactly. So there's plenty of food to support, and that's just what we know about. That's just the big whales we know about. What about the stuff that we don't know about? What about other bigger sharks, and whale sharks, and basking sharks? Things other. Basking sharks get up to 45 feet. I mean, and we know there are sharks that are cannibalistic towards other shark species. I mean,
not just a shark species. Look how big a freaking grouper can get.
Yeah,
there's plenty of fish species to feed something that big.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. I mean, look at all these humpback whales that's got these monstrous ass bites out of them, or the fact that how many humpback whales are out there, roughly how many could die in a year, but you don't. The amount of carcasses you find to the number of them that you should be finding is extremely low, like very, very low. They're going to, if they're floating on the surface before they sink to the bottom of the ocean, they're going to follow that oceanic current. So somebody's going to see one floating around there. You may find 1 in 10, rough estimate in my head, 1 of 10 carcasses. Yeah.
The ocean is unforgiving, and like I was saying earlier, if you're outside the shipping lanes, we don't see it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I believe so, and I believe they are part of the reasons why we have these ship disappearances. I really do. I think that is a very good plausibility. I cannot leave out storms. I cannot leave out rogue waves or sailor negligence. I have to add that in there, but I don't think that accounts for every single one of these missing ships or the appearances of these ghost ships. I can't. I'd be doing it a disservice if I did that, because it just doesn't add up.
Back as long as we've been putting boats to the ocean. So there's every society's got lore on ghost ships.
Yeah. I mean, I've been out in the ocean on a aircraft carrier, and I've seen some massively huge shadows in the water. That wasn't a group of ships. Hey, Wyatt, wasn't a group of fish. I mean, it was just, you can tell it was one solid deal, and it looked very, very shark-like. Now, that's not saying it is, because I didn't see a dorsal fin. It's just the shape of it was kind of looked more shark than it did whale. I don't know. It never surfaced. I never got in the water with it to tell what it actually was. I just know it was a big, dark shadow deal. And I'm on an aircraft carrier. You know, on one of those, they got one of the little areas we call it dark, not the dark room, but it's just like a little hole off it's got railed off, and it's right on the same level where we keep the aircraft at when they're not on deck. So you go out here, it's an open area. You can smoke, you can joke, get fresh sea air, and you can look out. I mean, and when you're out in the middle of that damn ocean and there's not land in sight, it's a desert. I mean, that thing is a freaking desert, but it's beautiful. Some of the stuff you see at nighttime, some of the stuff you see in the daytime, you won't find that being a land lover, and you just won't do it. You know, I've seen slight curvatures of the earth, watching the sun come up on the earth out in the middle of the ocean. Beautiful. But I can tell you there's weird things out there, and even sailors still talk about seeing these megalodons, seeing these mesosaurs, seeing the Flying Dutchman, seeing megalodon. I mean, there's still, these stories are prominent to this day of these type of entities out there on this ocean.
I think it was like 5 years ago. It might have been 2019, 2018. I can't remember exactly when the video surfaced, but there was a cruise ship off the Bahamas that like over 100 people on the cruise ship, and like 30 some videos surfaced. So to me, that's not likely to be a fake when you've got that many corroborating videos surfaced of a mosasaur following the ship, and scientists were like, well, that's a mosasaur, but this is clearly faked. We're like, how is this fake? There's like 30 copies of it floating around from different angles.
Yeah, I remember what you're talking about. And when you said that, I remember seeing that. Yeah, because look at the same things on Megalodon. Look how many photographs of the same Megalodon from like 3 or 4 different angles has popped up, and it's clearly a Megalodon. But hey, it's not a Megalodon. It's AI.
You remember the video I sent you, DA, of the Coast Guard in where's the Black Demons? The Sea of Cortez?
No, Baja, Mexico.
The Mexican Coast Guard was pulling people up with a rescue chopper, and there was a big shadow that was circling the guy, and the guy was actually pointing into the water like, "Get me up now." That was before AI was even a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so AI, when I was in the Marines from 99 to 05. Okay. And then from 05 to 2012, I was in the Army. In 99 to 05, we didn't have AI. I mean, right at the end, it started coming into play. But, I mean, it was clear as day it wasn't AI. And, I mean, it's just gotten better through time. And we were seeing stuff like that way back then. So, that's why I love this stuff. I mean, I know we talk a lot about land stuff, but ocean's just got much mystery to it as the land does. It really does.
Something the ocean scares me. That's not my territory.
Yeah. It's, I will never, I've always told people, I will never tell you to stay out of the water, because I still go in the water, given what everything I've seen out there. But then again, I go around looking for Bigfoot and werewolves and ghosts and supernatural things too. So I guess I don't have a rock to stand on when it comes to that. But, I still go out there and do it because it's beautiful. I mean, it's something that you'll never get to experience unless you go and do it. Even if you do it once, at least do it once. It's a beautiful, under that water, it's a whole new world. And I don't put that lightly. It literally is a whole different new world. The ecosystem and everything involved with it is just stunning and beautiful. Uh, yeah, monster trouts. Yeah, okay. Okay had a good point here just a moment ago, or not. Okay did. I'm sorry. No, okay did. Yeah. Probably sharks bigger than megalodons out there if there are giant squids down in the Sea of Cortez and even bigger ones caught on camera. You know there are more giants out there than has to be. And Vicky also brought a good thing is how do we keep finding megalodon teeth if they don't exist? And that is a good point. I mean, yes, the old fable, the sea takes away, but the sea also gives back. You're still finding megalodon teeth today that ain't petrified.
There have been a number of them found off the Great Barrier Reef in Australia.
Yeah.
Just white as could be.
Yep. So, I mean, that's obvious. You're not telling me every single one of those is a gigantism in the great white.
Right.
I mean, there can't be that many gigantic great whites out there like that. Which, I mean, great white is basically the modern day version of a megalodon. If I remember right, it's in the same genus species, the same. I believe it's almost the same. They're just smaller.
They're both in the genus Carcharodon, but great white is Carcharodon carcharius, and megalodon is megalodon Carcharodon megalodon. Ugh. Those big fancy words.
There were similar species, but in the same family group, but not quite the same.
But by that same token, makos and salmon sharks are in that same genus too. So, they're all in that. Just some get a little bit bigger, a little bit meaner.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's awesome stuff to do. We're getting close to the top of the hour. And being I've got both of you on here, we're going to spend a little bit more time for the top of the hour. And I want you guys to talk about your Hey, Jeff, talk about your guys' podcast and your books. Robbie's the new author in the group. Let's see if we go first about his book. So if you guys wouldn't mind, we'll go ahead and do that. Roxanne, if you wouldn't mind, put their book information up, please.
All right, so I guess like you said, I'm the new guy as far as the author stuff goes.
You're doing good, dude. I'm proud of you. You're doing good.
Book one is Shadow Walker Silver Star, and that starts the series. It's about a deputy who goes on a call one night and finds a little bit more than a 911 hang-up, and goes on a kind of a pretty good journey. There's somebody sitting over here beside me that's a character in the book too. Another little fella is the character in the book. People y'all might recognize, but basically I put a lot of Cherokee folklore in it. The first book is pretty much based on the Cherokee proverb of the two wolves, that everybody has two wolves inside them, one good, one evil, and which wolf wins? The one you feed. And that's kind of the whole premise of him trying to figure out how he needs to, walk this path, so to speak. Obviously, my writing style is a lot like DA's because I sat at the feet of greatness.
I don't know about all that.
Well, I do.
You're a hell of a mentor.
Yeah. I've said it. I'll say it as long as I can say it, that, I've had this story in my head for 25 plus years, but I was never ready to write it until I got to hanging around with this guy. And he kind of walked me down and helped me to not make some of the mistakes he made. And I still made mistakes, don't get me wrong, but, I don't think it would have done nearly as good as it's done if I hadn't have listened to that. So, and the second book is Shadow Walkers, the Creature of Scape-Ore Swamp. And they go down to Lee County, South Carolina, and getting involved with the famous lizard, or at least that's what they think they're getting involved with, is the famous lizard man of Lee County. May not be what they end up getting involved with, but that's what they're thinking they're getting involved in. And then I am I just finished chapter 8 in book 3, which is going to be the terror of the Wampus Cat. So they're going to Gatlinburg for this one, and
Heck yeah.
then DA and I kind of brainstormed something last night that's going to be good. So when I
can't wait, dude.
When I get book 3 done, I think the next book, I don't know if it's going to be book 4 in that series or if it's going to. We hadn't really figured out which way that one's going to go yet, but.
Well, let's just say there's been some subtle innuendos about being in the same or at least a similar universe. The innuendos ain't going to be near as subtle this time.
Because we think we have come up with a way to explain how this is possible for him as his himself to be a character in my book and still be writing the books he's writing right now in real life.
Oh, wow. Awesome.
If we can pull it off, yeah, y'all are going to be in for a ride.
Heck yeah. Yeah, I finished, let's see, I messaged you, was that last week? No, it was the week before. It was probably before that, before the tornadoes hit, and I was listening to yours. I was like, man, that's going pretty good. I got started on book 2, and I finished it up. It was pretty good. And, Robby also makes a lot of fantastic stuff, which I've got. Oh, I forgot to pull that one up. That's all right. Anyways, I've gotten stuff off of Robby. He makes these, this lighting, these cool little magnets you get here. He's made my logo for the show that goes on a light. He's made hats for me, and I've got business cards too. So, and the link is there below right now, where you can go to his Lone Wolf Customs to get some of his stuff, which normally you can see the light from the deal here. So you make sure not only go to Amazon, look up Robby Jed Rains to buy his books, but make sure you go to Lone Wolf Customs on Instagram or email him at rrains.c8@gmail. And get you some stuff in. That's if you notice when I've been doing investigations the last few times, that's the hat I'm wearing. I love my cowboy hats, but when I'm out in the bush, this thing gets snagged on trees and stuff like that quite often. That's why I like a ball cap when I'm out in the bush. So, go over there, pick some of that stuff up, and get it from him. DA, what you got, brother? There we go.
Oh, you mean about my stuff? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was getting ready to jump in on Robby's stuff.
Go for it. Go for it.
Robby's a hell of a writer. So is ED. You guys got to check out their stuff. These guys really put in a lot of hard work on their stuff. They do great research, and they both keep pointing at me like I had something to do with it, but it's their work. I just nudged them along the path in a couple of choice instances. This is all them, and I'm very proud of both of them. They're doing a great job. But if you want to check out any of my books, you can check out everything at daroberts.net. I've got 35 books currently in print and about to have 36. Very close to finishing the most recent one, which is the new Lakeview Man, Dead of Winter. You can check all my books at on Amazon as well. D.A. Roberts author on Amazon, or just look up any of the titles, any of the books. I'm a 4-time Amazon bestseller, and really looking forward to breaking that, becoming more, and hopefully soon, we'll even have international bestseller on that. So keeping my fingers crossed, and it's a long journey, and but I'm a firm believer that as one ship rises, the tide should raise all ships. So you can count on, if my books are taking off, I'm going to be plugging these guys in as much as I can and getting them along the way as well. So, and I'm a huge supporter of other authors. The only author I see as competition is the author I was yesterday. I'm not competing against anybody. Just because somebody reads my book doesn't mean they won't read someone else's. And thinking of it in any other terms is just kind of unthinkable, because these guys aren't my competitions; they're my friends, and I am proud to support their writing, and they support mine. And that's the way it should be. And that's the way it's always going to be as far as I'm concerned. So check them out. Check mine out. Check out our show on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights. It's called DAX Machina for the moment. We are going to be rebranding the show, calling it the Nightmare Hunters. And that change should be coming pretty soon once we get the new logos and intro and outro done. But that's coming soon as well. And I just want to thank each and every one of you guys for all the support and all the friendships and all the great stories along the way. And I've said it many times, and I will say it again. Writing is a journey that we take together. And I want to thank each and every one of you, including these two yahoos, for taking that journey with me.
You are one hell of a mentor. I've tried to write for years and never got it nowhere. And you are a big reason why I started getting back into doing it again. So I appreciate everything you've done for me. That's why I love promoting your guys' work. Both you guys are phenomenal authors. You really are. So that's why I promote your stuff as always.
Thank you, brother.
And I'm going to. You're welcome. So I'm going to get caught up here on the comments. As we do this on the last half, we're going to talk about the infamous Shark Man. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I have to admit, I was deeply mistaken because I didn't realize how far back Shark Man actually goes in mythology around the world. Two of the most prominent areas you're going to find is Japan and mainly Samoan culture. Samoan culture really steeped in a Shark Man theory. And, DA wrote about it in codename Wild Hunt Operation Blood Eagle down in Argentina. Mine will be making an appearance in a couple books of the Vangerian Guard, which will start out in Germany, where a lot of this that I'm writing about came from, because we're going to be talking about the German Sharkmen as well. But it may be making its way to Argentina because, honestly, that's where it ended up leading to. I mean, it went from Germany to Argentina dealing with the German Sharkmen. So, we'll be getting into that as well. So, with that being said, one of them that I found was a Samebito. Have you guys heard of the Samebito from Japan?
I haven't.
No. Tell us about
Samebito is also Japanese shark man. Is a mythological creature, particularly known from Japanese folklore, described as a shark-like humanoid with inky black skin, emerald green eyes, a demon-like face, and a dragon-like beard. They are often portrayed as kind, loyal creatures, sometimes serving powerful aquatic beings like dragons or storm giants. The Sambito are associated with the story of the gratitude of Sambito, where they are depicted as living on land after being wronged and later helping a human with a marriage gift with rubies. They cry rubies when they cry. So, so that was interesting. I didn't realize that was, I spent time in Japan. So
the Peter Benchley's book, White Shark. Now, they redid the made for TV movie. They went in and changed a lot of stuff, but the book, that's actually where it was same thing you're talking about, and same thing DA kind of wrote about was the German experimentation, and that's where it all came from. Of course, the TV made for TV movie, it was the United States government that was making it, and they went in and kind of changed all that stuff. But this, like you said, this is something that's been around for a pretty good while. Because I think White Shark came out in the 80s, I think. If I remember
yes, I remember. I could look that up. I think so. I remember White Shark, or was it the White Shark or White Shark? I think it
was just called White Shark, because they changed the name in the movie to the Beast or Creature or something like that. But the book was actually called White Shark.
Let me look that up. I remember something.
DA said he'd be right back. He had an emergency call.
No worries. let me look that up because I remember something about that, but I don't remember the dates on that. Yeah, it was a creature. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the made for TV movie with Craig Nelson and Kim Cattrall.
Oh, that's why I thought it meant the White Shark, because I've seen here the White Shark novel. At the close of World War II, Nazi scientist Ernest Kroger perfects the biological weapon he calls Der Weiße He, the White Shark.
Yep.
That's why I was thinking the White Shark. Okay, yeah. It's not giving me a date unless I dive into it deeper, but we won't. Date's not all that important. You can look it up, the White Shark as the novel, and see that. And so, I mean, yeah, that's pretty much been my knowledge on these shark people. And I didn't realize, because I was stationed in Hawaii. I've been stationed in Japan, and I never heard the stories of these shark people. I've always known it from, World War II, Germany. So this is interesting stuff. And the fact that we know once they left there, they went to 3 places: Ukraine, Argentina, and the United States. And they didn't stop doing these genetic modifications when they left Germany. They were still doing it. In fact, what was that U-boat? I think Kroger was on it. The U-boat that sank that had the shark man serum on it.
Yep.
And they just recently found it. But he had that box that had the shark man serum on it. And so that shows you that they literally were working on this type of stuff. Published in 1994. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Robby. Okay, that was you.
I didn't want to interrupt you while you were explaining.
No worries. I'm going to pop that up there. So yeah, 1994.
And the movie,
and that's where my knowledge.
97 is when they produced the creature based on that.
So I still got a couple more years by that theory before one of my books becomes a movie. But that would be cool.
Well, he actually went back. I heard this later. He actually went back and wrote a novelization, or however you pronounce that, and rebranded it Creature, or The Creature, and made some changes so it went more along with the script for the show. But the original,
I remember.
Talking about that.
I remember that.
The White Shark or Der Weiße Hai.
Yep. Because eventually the book originally was the German scientists and all that kind of stuff, and then they changed it for the TV show, and it was the American Navy that is the one that made the creature, and that's why I call it The Creature. But he went back and wrote a novelization later on to match the screenplay.
Hey, y'all. Sorry I had to disappear for a minute. I got a phone call. I just got an update from Miss Lene's husband, Jim. She's going to be in the hospital for about another week. He's hoping that she'll be able to come home a week from tomorrow. She's having some pretty serious respiratory issues. So prayers for her and her family would definitely be appreciated. And I told Jim, call me day or night if they need anything. But she's doing better than she was a couple of days ago, but they're still waiting on test results to find out exactly what's wrong. So y'all keep her in your prayers, please.
Yeah, definitely. We when I found out last night, I want to keep that going on. Like I told you guys last night during last night's show, keep that prayer chain going for her. Miss Lene is a beautiful soul and a great person. So definitely keep that prayer chain going. We had a question here for Robby, and I just missed it. There it is. Anthony wants to know. Yeah, I don't know if DA told you, but okay, did you?
Yeah, I answered him because DA was talking about Miss Lene, so I just answered him from there.
Yeah, I just now seen that. Okay, my bad. So with this stuff being in Japan, I mean, in Hawaii, you got the Komohali, which is the father of Nananu, Nanau. Thank you, God, if I could speak today. Both of those were known as shark human gods of the Polynesian culture. You know, Kamaholi was married to Kali. Was it Kali? Let me make sure my memories. Let's see. Hawaiian religion, Kamaholi is a shark god and brother to Cain, Malihui, Pele, Kapo, Namaka, and Hayakia. Maui, I'm sorry. He's around the islands of Maui and Kalawi.
Well, and
I can't remember who his wife was.
as much as I don't like him and hate to bring him up, wasn't there something that The Rock said when for his character Maui in Moana, or not Moana? Was it Moana?
Moana.
Yeah, Moana.
Didn't he like? Wasn't Maui supposed to be like a mix of a couple of different?
He was a shape-shifting demigod, but at one scene he turns into a shark head.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why it kind of like he's more or less a combination of several different ones instead of being one specific.
Yeah. Yeah, which I mean, Maui is a demigod in the Polynesian cultures, but yeah, I ain't got. I better keep my mouth. Kayleigh was the mother. Was the wife of Kamaholi, but so yeah. And I didn't know that. Which now that I think about it, when I was in Hawaii looking at tapestries and stuff like that, I do remember seeing shark people on there, but I just never paid much attention to it at the time. And here I am learning more about this. And I've said this on the show many times, I love Hawaii. Hawaii is the Polynesian culture is very beautiful and a very magical and spiritual culture. I mean, it is absolutely stunning. And, and I love being there. Sucks living there. It's expensive as hell to live in Hawaii, but it's a beautiful place to go and visit, scuba dive, snorkel, whatever. There's a lot of culture there. I've seen the night marchers and I've seen all this other stuff being in Hawaii, and I would never got to experience it. But they are very, very steeped in marine life, because that's their whole life was based around these marine life. So marine mythologies and stuff like that being in there, I could see that. And that why when I was reading this stuff, that posed a question to me. So we know that Hitler was into the occult, like big time. He was always trying to find something to one up the competition, make his military stronger, make him stronger. The idea for the Sharkmen, I wonder if it comes from this Japanese and Polynesian culture, or if there was something a lot more ancient that we're not seeing. Yeah, Roxanne. Hey, Rhonda. And that makes me wonder if that's because we know they got a lot of that stuff from these different cultures. These different ideas of combining stuff, doing this gene splicing, doing all this type of stuff to create this just perfect super soldier.
Look at all the Egyptian
to help them win the war. Oh man, I just did one a few months back on that, and I forgot the name of that. Yeah, ancient Sumerians even have them. Which, if you study these, according to like the Japanese culture, the Samobite is basically like a merfolk. So a lot of these things are talking as these shark men as being a type of merfolk. Heck yeah. I love these guys in here. You guys are awesome. So it makes another question. Are they a type of merfolk? We think of merfolk as human upper half, fish lower half, but we see through all different ancient mythologies that it varies back and forth. The Sumerian god was known having a fish upper half and a human lower half, but it has a head inside of the mouth. That's ancient Sumerian right there, and that's their mermaid style. Other ones have them very much fishy from top to bottom, but with human features. So if you got all these different types of merfolk out there from different mythologies from different times, the question of these shark men being a type of merfolk would probably be close to accurate, or it's just a completely different species all on its own. I don't know. But I mean, we know Hitler was into ancient German, ancient Sumerian, ancient Egyptian, which Samaria comes from the Egyptian area anyway. So, it stands to reason why that is. So that could be where he got the idea of creating that. Or, I mean, like we said here, Japanese and Polynesian culture has them as well. I don't know what you guys think on that.
Well, I mean, just look at pop culture. I mean, even in comics, look at King Shark. I mean, they might have written him in as being genetically mutated, but some of the earlier stuff that they wrote him in, he was actually a shark god, or the offspring of shark god. So I mean, it's stuff like that's even in pop culture,
and not just Marvel, but it's in several different pop cultures of these different types of shark people. What was that? Jabberjaws, that cartoon. A shark that could talk.
Charlie from Three Stooges.
Jabberjaw. Yep, there you go. So I mean, we're seeing this deep in our culture. I mean, and like I said, stories, from before World War II up to present, I've still seen these sharkman people. I just want to make sure I was caught up on the comments here. But I don't know, man. This is really cool stuff, and it fits in line with what Hitler was looking at. It really does. When I'm getting ready to do the Vengerian Book 3, which is going to be dealing with these sharkmen, I'm basing it off of that. So now I've got more stuff to add into that book because of this research. But that's why I like doing this stuff. And I firmly believe they actually did create something like this. I believe, Hitler and his groupies created something like this. I'm trying to be careful on what I say too much on the YouTube channels. That's why I was like, I got to figure out how to say this right. I don't know. Do you guys think they probably were successful? I mean, I know you wrote it in your books, DA, but
I think they were.
Curious if you actually...
I think that's why we're not allowed to explore certain parts of Antarctica to this day. Because there was supposedly a Nazi sub base down there with an entire underground facility. I think they called it New Schwabenland, and that area is still not explored.
They're still not allowed to go there,
right?
Even though you're allowed to go wherever you want on Antarctica. Thank you, Roxanne. Right when you said it, Roxanne was on point. Thank you, Roxanne. Oh man. Even though you're free to go to Antarctica whenever you want, there's still places you have to have certain paperwork to go and visit on Antarctica, and on top of that, you got to have the money to go. And then on top of that, you got to find someone that's willing to take you down there. So even though you're free to go there, getting there is extremely difficult. He killed one of their assets. I don't know. OKJ says, who was the one feller that shot a dog man and they said he killed one of their assets? You talk about that trucker?
Yeah, Joe. Cannot remember his last name. I think it begins with a P.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's the one you're talking about. Let me know if that's true, OKJ, but I think that's the one you're talking about was that truck driver.
I think it was Joe Barker. I can't remember.
I think so. I can't remember. That sounds right. I could be wrong.
I think I still got my contacts on my phone. Hold on.
Yeah, Vicky, no kidding. Well, that begs the question, what happens if we're out there in that big old pond? Joe something. Okay, that's the same one we were just thinking about. Okay, good. Thank you, OKJ.
Barger.
Huh?
Joe Barger.
Barger. Okay. That I mean, that's another question. What if we're out there in that big old pond and one of those comes aboard our ship, and decides it wants to have us for lunch? What happens if we do unalive that thing? We're gonna because I guarantee you, it's probably got something to do with some kind of alphabet soup organization somewhere, you know, or some kind of entity that's above others somewhere.
Alphabet soup something.
I firmly, yeah, I firmly believe they are creating these things. Robby, do you think they are on that?
I mean, if we're training dolphins to put mines on the side of ships, then I don't put nothing past any government on the face of this earth.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a point.
Well, one of the latest things they've done is they actually attach them to their bodies and they have a trigger mechanism on the nose, and they've taught them to go up and bump that boat, and boom. They've been doing that with dolphins. It's a little pressure trigger. It sets on the nose, and they swim up there, and they tap that boat, and boom. That's it. Yeah. DA has covered that, and Robby has covered that extensively. I don't remember what show it was, OKJ, but if you go to DAX Machina on YouTube, you should find that show. They do talk about it on there.
We had him on and talked about it for quite a while.
Yep.
And I found him to be very credible. I mean, I didn't really feel like he was being deceptive or anything like that at all.
Well, and
I'm generally pretty good at spotting that.
And another thing, the story he told on our show, almost identical to when they interviewed him on Small Town Monsters.
Yeah, his story did not change.
Nothing changed. I mean, it was, and that's generally what you look for, and what DA and I are talking about, the
body language and eye
things
contact.
that we're trained to look for. You can usually tell when somebody's trying to make something up and trying to expound on it and elaborate and make it look a little bit more extravagant. And he never came off as that in either time that I've ever heard him say
it. Sig Warren, baby.
little subtle plug.
Subtle plug. That's all right, man. Get her up there. Heck yeah.
Sigwo, if you're interested, Eric, they're making Wild Hunt rifles. You can custom order an AR with all the Wild Hunt stuff on it.
I remember you talking about that. It was like 3 or 4 shows ago, I think it was.
Yeah,
I think you just came back after
working on mine as we speak. They should have it done before too terribly long. OD green with all the OD green furniture, and yeah, it's gonna be sweet.
I'm so jealous. One of these days, I'm gonna be rich and famous. So I'll get me one. I promise. I wonder if I can.
It ain't because I'm rich. Trust me.
Oh,
but now the finance bubble gum. That was a mutual arrangement.
No worries. Mom, so, what are you doing? Why you got that? Sorry, my dog's looking at me like, hello. You can also find the Wild Hunt unit patch tattoo for pretty cheap. I didn't know you had a tattoo.
More of those patches. We've been out for a bit. I just haven't had the money to order more.
Yeah, the tattoos ain't so cheap.
I didn't know you. Yeah. No, I need to get me some. That's my newest one. Is that one there? Mjolnir with Freemasons on it. Heck yeah.
Being weird, so I can't get it in there right. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, I need some more tattoos. Yeah, them things are too addictive. It just costs so daggone much anymore. My daughter just tore up my washing machine. I found out today, don't have a spin cycle no more. So I've got to wring out my clothes before I throw them in the dryer. I'm like, crap. I was like, daggone it. That's an expense I can't afford. There you go. I got mine in here. I think I do. I may have put them all in my wallet now. Nope, I got.
He makes these. If you guys want some badass aluminum etched business cards, Robby makes these. This is aluminum, and man, these things are wicked.
Yeah, that's what this is. Aluminum Robby made for me. Oop, that's upside down. No wonder it looked weird. There we go. Yeah, I had Robby make me some of these too. What you got there?
That's just a little
Case.
case, little holder for them.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
you pop it open and the cards are inside.
oh, heck yeah.
Yeah,
That's
those are
nifty.
neat. I'm gonna have to order
Yeah,
a couple more of them from Robby because I've kind of bent the crap out of this one, burying it.
Yeah, I just got mine in my wallet and I hand it to people as
Evan
we
Bud
talk.
wants to know what the price is, Robby.
Depends on how many you want. Eric, how many did you got? Did you get 100?
Man, I don't remember now. I'm down to, I think I got around 50, didn't I?
I can't remember. I know DA got 100, but obviously, he and I done some wheeling and
I did
dealing
some
about stuff.
horse trading.
Yeah, so I think I was doing. I think 50 cards. I think was like $50.
I don't remember, dude. I cannot remember because it's been a minute since I bought it.
I think I did 50
I'll
cards.
let you guys talk.
I think it was $50. It's been so long since I've done those. I can't remember what price.
Hey, did I tell you what the guy up at AT&T was doing with his
oh
card
yeah,
I gave him? Yeah, they were flipping them and sticking them in the poster board.
the business card that doubles
Nah, I
as
don't
well.
have the paperwork.
That's right, like Gambit.
I don't have the paperwork handy, so I can't tell you. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. I thought I had the paperwork in that box still, but I guess I don't. I may have put it in a file somewhere. Just don't remember what file I put it in. That's typically my little deal. It's like, oh man, I know I put this somewhere so I wouldn't lose it, and I end up losing it. Heck yeah, man! Wild Hunt and Apex Predator tattoos. Heck yeah! You got to talk to that man right here. You got to talk to right here. That's the man to talk to.
If somebody wants to get an Apex Predator or a codename Wild Hunt tattoo, you don't need my permission. Go for it. I think it is flipping awesome. The only thing I ask is if you get one of my logos as a tattoo, send it to me so we can share it on the pages, because I think that's just freaking awesome. I mean, why would I complain about somebody giving me advertisement? Because you know what, people are going to be, oh, that's a freaking cool tattoo. What is it? And then the subject of the books come up. I mean, what kind of a-hole would go, no, you can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. I'm all for it, man. If you guys want to get a tattoo of any of the book logos, hell, reach out to me and I'll send you a clean version of it so your tattoo artist has it.
Heck yeah.
Ghost Dance
Anthony
MC
says,
patch.
I'm going to get. Heck yeah.
I need to get those made.
I love that.
Problem is as Eric can well tell you, you got to be very careful about wearing an MC patch.
Yeah. It's
I don't recommend
if you do, don't put it in.
a full back patch. Don't.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of stories of people buying those cuts with Sons of Anarchy on them and going to places where there's a lot of 1%ers. Yeah, and not having a very good time.
Yeah, don't wear a patch you didn't earn when it comes to MC clubs. Just don't do it.
If you, I'm not saying don't get the tattoo. My advice to you is, if you get the tattoo, leave the MC out of it. Leave it out. That's one of the best devices. Don't put a top and bottom rocker on it. Just get the design. That'd probably be your best bet. So that's my advice to you. Obviously, you're an adult. You do what you want. My advice to you: don't put the MC on it. Don't put an upper and bottom rocker on it. Yeah, no kidding. Okay, Jake.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Whoops. Yeah, that's something. Yeah. But yeah, no. We get to talk. Derail. topic.
He says about the patches.
But anyway,
Let me find out exactly how much, because I know the price on those patches per unit went up from since I had the last ones done. Let me find out what it's going to be per unit before I even start thinking about the new price, because it's going to have to go up. Because we were selling the patches for 10, but the price per unit went way up after COVID, and it's like more than doubled. So I don't want to quote anybody any prices on patches or anything like that, because it's probably going to be in the ballpark of $500 before I can even place an order. So I've got to, right at the moment, like I was joking and saying that I'd have to sizzle, a pack of Hubba Bubba. That ain't far from wrong. So right now I don't have the funds to order a bunch of patches, but I'm probably looking at a $500 minimum order. And I just don't want to do pre-orders because I don't know when I'm going to be able to make the order. Oh, we lost Robby. No, we lost Eric. I was thinking it was you. We lost you.
Can they still see us or hear us?
What do we do now? Roxanne says we need a Gray Eagle ladies patch. I'm working on that patch for the Hotametaneo. It's probably going to have the Apex Predator font and maybe a Howling Wolf or something like that. But there will be a patch for not. I'm going to try to do a patch for each series. Kevin, right? Yeah, with a slow return, because I lay out that and I only sell a patch here and there. It's not exactly paying well for itself. So it's probably going to be a bit before I can order patches. And that's per patch. A minimum order per patch is probably going to be in the ballpark of 500-ish to get the minimum requirement of patches. And I want to get more of the Wild Hunt patches. I want to get the new Nightmare Hunter patch when we get that made. I want to get one for Dark Frontiers. And definitely want to get one for. I haven't got one designed yet for Apex Predator or Lakeview Man, but those are in the works. So we'll be. Roxanne, is it raining our way? It was raining earlier, but not very hard. I couldn't tell you. Let me tell you what. Let me take a look. Looks like it might be. It's hard to see. Backyard's real dark. Looks like it's probably raining.
Because I don't know if we can't end this show.
Yeah, hopefully he can make it back in, because I have no idea. We can't shut it down from our end. Only thing I can do is leave. And
I'm really surprised that we're still going with him, with it knocking him off. No, technically, Kevin, we're
maybe
maybe
the weather got him, because he's not too far from me, maybe 20 miles. Oh, I can't comment.
He lost internet. Hold on.
Okay. No, I don't want to do anything that'll get him demonetized, so I got to be good.
So this has become DAX Machina for now.
Inadvertently, it has become DAX Machina. I think he's resetting his router. Yeah, I had to do that just the other day because ours was going crazy.
Well, but if you get kicked out, or me or Doc or Steve can actually end the show if we have to,
because you've got co-host status.
Yeah.
Robby, tell us a little bit about the new book you're working on.
All right. So
that'll stall for a little bit till Eric can get back.
So after the events of book 2, Rick and Sarah are on their way back to South Carolina. They decide they want to take a little vacation from everything that's been going on, because 1 and 2 pretty much were within a couple months of each other. So they decide they're going to go. They call Lance and ask him if he knows anybody or knows where they can stay. So, of course, Lance being the person he is and having the money he's got and the connections he's got a small cabin in the woods up in the mountains of Gatlinburg. So they go up there. Well, unbeknownst to them, some strange things start happening.